Welcome, everybody, to a Couple Guys Being Dudes podcast. We got Alex Dunbar here. We got Russell Mortlock from Kelowna. Just joined Real. Today we're going to be talking about real estate for realtors. I guess you've been doing the YouTube thing for a minute now. How's that been?
It's good. It's been a grind for sure. Like yourself. Started on some of the other platforms and shorter form stuff, which a lot easier to get started on, I would say. Less understanding necessarily. And I mean, it's just hard to talk for 10 to 15 minutes. But yeah, you feel like you're talking to a brick wall for the first 6 months, and then typically something will click and you'll start to build an audience. And I just think there's so much power in it. And I've been able to, honestly, the majority of my business this year has been from that. And it continues to, even the first video I ever put out, not even that high quality, continues to get like, I think it's around 40 views every 2 days, which very different from TikTok or Instagram for the most part, right? After a week or two, unless it maybe goes viral and it pops up again, it's typically kind of dead. But yeah, just with the search engine optimization potential and being able to be found on Google, I think it's the most underutilized platform by real estate agents, and that's where the most potential is.
Why do you think people are underutilizing it? Like, what is it that's keeping people from starting? Like, I've been doing the YouTube thing for 2 years. I've closed a couple deals off of it, but I know you do more of the, like, neighborhood, city-specific stuff. Like, do you think that's kind of the route to go then?
Yeah, I do. I think, and for people, it's like the instant gratification type of factor with, not that you can get it elsewhere, but I think you can have quicker results on other platforms, and having to put in the work over a longer period of time and not necessarily seeing the results up front probably deters a lot of people, right?
It's hard.
Yeah.
And I think YouTube's like the hardest one to do. I also do think it probably has the best conversion and the biggest upside. I think you always share the same stat, and whenever I talk to people in Kelowna, is just simply Google homes for sale in Kelowna and you'll see hundreds of agents running Google ads. I know in my market there's like 1,400 agents, and I think there's 2 or 3 of us that actually do stuff on YouTube and have been consistent with it. So you do have I wouldn't call it a moat, but you have way less competition. And even just to add to your thing on your first videos, like my best performing videos right now are like the 7 best places to live in British Columbia and why not to move to Penticton. And I filmed those 2 years ago. And both of them are getting like the same thing, like 40 to 50 views every 48 hours on the YouTube analytics. And it's just like, always cracks me up about how I'm like, oh geez, like I wish some of my newer videos would like do well, but these ones are coming in and I'll get all these calls from people off those videos that are like referring back to that, like, oh, I saw you recommended these 7 places to live in British Columbia. So it's really cool how it works that way.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. Like I've thought about just loading my channel with like the 5 best pros and cons of blah, blah, this city and this neighborhood and blah, blah, but I just like, it's just so boring to make, dude. Like, I know I could pump out like 50 of those, but it's like, I don't know, man. But I agree. Cause it's like all my best videos are all things that I shot like probably a year and a half ago, like that exact style content. But
I think it's really good to repurpose it. It's easy. Like it helps with our Google ads conversion. So that was like ultimately why I started my YouTube channel. Just because when you're converting at like 1%, you know what I mean, of the people that come in on there, like how can I get that to 2%? And so then dripping out our YouTube videos where they get to see your face, hear me speak, and provide some information builds that trust a little bit quicker and a little bit stronger. So when my number keeps showing up and calling them, they're more likely to answer.
So you've been doing that, like, so you've been getting the Google leads and then sending them the YouTube video?
Yeah, I've done that for quite a few years now. Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah, and that's boost our conversion, I would say, really, really well. Because we about every 1 in 70 some leads that come in, we convert it. We're like industry average is like 1 in 100. Yeah. And I think that's probably the only reason. It might be I would say we do have really good phone skills and we do practice that quite a bit. But I think just those people seeing it. And it's good touch points too over time where a lot of these leads may be a couple of years away from buying that sign up, or they're from out of town. So then seeing the top neighborhoods in Kelowna of where it is visually on a YouTube from the person's website that's sending you those listings, I think attaches a name to it,
Yeah.
where a lot of them are going to be on 10 different websites, but they've seen my face in a YouTube video and then continue to use our website.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful, man. I didn't even think about it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Does it boost SEO as well with everything else you're doing?
I've gone down a huge wormhole of SEO on the website, and I paid a person a bunch of money to try to maximize my SEO, and I found out that I will never be able to compete with the people that have been in it for like 20 years in terms of SEO. It would just be, I'd literally have to be putting out content multiple times a day for a couple of years just to even try to rank organically in my market. So then I just, instead of spending that money, I put it into the Google ads. But say when people do search like top neighborhoods and some of that stuff in Kelowna, the Google, like with Google and YouTube being attached, it can't show up there. But for the actual website,
it's just a losing battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, how long did it take you to see success?
Honestly, to be more consistent, like a year, 12 months. Like I'd have leads and stuff, and I don't know, might have done like 1 or 2 my first year, but to actually be getting like, I kind of base it off of Zoom calls booked, because that's my call to action where I'm actually getting people in. And to get that consistent was, probably around the 12-month mark. And then since then, even, up market, down market, doesn't really matter what it is, because there's always people that are looking. And I've always found, I think we've had this conversation, that specifically like TikTok, I kind of got away from that because I felt it was very sentiment-based. And it almost like followed the market to some extent. Like all of a sudden, market's up and like just like tons of people coming in, then all of a sudden it's dead, and it's like you go 6 months and you haven't heard from anybody, but you're still putting out the same amount of content. But I don't know, maybe because it's not trending or whatever that may be. Whereas YouTube, there's always people looking to move, and they're very intentional about what they're doing. And so something I was going to add to that as well is that the other day, actually, it's not just for generating new leads from individuals who are looking to make the move. The other day I got one as a referral actually from another agent who saw my videos, had somebody that was moving to Willoughby specifically and saw the Willoughby video and the rest of my content and just showed that I was an expert in the area, and that's why they sent me some business. And on top of that, a lot of the other videos, that the reason why I actually got into it originally was to actually just educate clients that I already had. Like, what am I being asked over and over and over again that I'm answering that I can make one video for, send that out, and then we can have deeper conversations. And then that's also allowing me to continue to build trust with these clients, or potentially even leads if maybe they're not ready yet. And I can send them this, they're like, wow, I learned so much in this 15-minute video, and then I'm not having, people talking to me that are like, hey, what's a contingency reserve fund? It's like, hey, Alex, we found this condo. We see that there's $157,000 in the contingency reserve fund. There's 40 units. Like, do you think that's a good number? It's like more high-level questions versus like the very basic stuff.
Yeah.
So
I got a really awesome YouTube video story. So like in our market, there's one person that just dominates the waterfront homes. And so like the old Didar who used to like film and edit my videos, like, man, you got a good personality. Just like shoot a video of you just kind of like being yourself. And so I'm like, oh, I don't know, man, whatever. So I got one of my buddy to go cruise around with me in my high-end Santa Fe. And we filmed a video based off of where the richest people in Kelowna live. And so we're like driving through these gated communities in my Santa Fe, and I'm literally just like nothing scripted, just saying whatever comes to mind, like really just joking around. And then we ended up getting a big lead off of our website. And then he's like, yeah, like I was going to connect with the person who's the waterfront specialist, but I thought you had a pretty good personality. So then I just gave you a call instead. And his budget's like $8 million.
That's
you know what I mean? So we haven't converted them yet, but just some of those stuff can be the deciding factors. Because like, he's like, yeah, I just thought I would mesh way better with you guys because you seemed like you had a decent personality. It was pretty funny because when I first posted, I'm like, oh man, I'm never doing this again. Like, it's not that professional. It's not that whatever. And like, no one's going to really give a shit. And then it ended up producing like a decent, really good lead.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like back to your point, man, like I've definitely found that short form content is sentiment based. I think like in markets like this where it's super down, people already have that idea in their head, like I'm not buying real estate right now, right? I'm just not going to do it, right? And with short form content, it's not sales, right? Like it's very difficult to convince somebody to do something. it's more marketing. So when sentiment's good, well, short form's amazing for marketing. So you get all these inbound leads that have already made up their mind they're going to buy, right? And now you don't need to convince them, you don't need to educate, you don't need to do all this. Like, they've already made up their mind that I'm doing this. And then they see you every day on short form, right? But with YouTube, it's like you can lay out all the facts and handle all the objections and educate and do all of these things in a 15-minute video. And somebody who wasn't going to buy has now maybe changed their mind after watching that video. So in a slower market, I think YouTube is always going to trump the short form content, right? So taking a different direction here, how's 2024 been?
Pretty good, honestly. I don't know. It's interesting. I feel like I talk to a lot of people that are struggling or, not having the best year, but they're also not necessarily kind of that top 10, 20%, and the people at the top seem to be doing pretty well, right? So I don't know if this is just, call it like separation season, but those who have actually built a business on referrals or YouTube channels or whatever that may be, seem to be doing well. Like myself personally, it's been a good year. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm seeing out there. I don't know about yourself.
Yeah, we like in terms of resale, we haven't done that good this year. I think in our market, we've seen about like a 50% reduction in sales for what things been going on the MLS. But we did sell like some of those developments, so that will give us a big boost, and hopefully it'll end up still being like our best year yet with that stuff squeaked in. But things are just challenging, way harder. Like it might just be because like we're finding like every 3 offers you get on one of your listings is like actually going through now. And like even similar on buy side, like just buyers are like pulling the plug on certain things. So there's a lot of intangibles that you maybe, I don't know if it's because it's slow and people feel like they don't have to make the decision, and then they really over guess and overestimate and over analyze everything to 15th length, and then analysis by paralysis don't do anything. So that's kind of been our tidbit there. And yeah, things are hard to sell. Like, that's where you just probably got to transition away. Like we were doing a lot of marketing towards trying to get downsizer and listing leads, where we were like, okay, we need to get some more buyers. And then you kind of transition to whatever the market's really giving you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like from a money made standpoint, it's been a decent year, but like, dude, it's been a grind this year.
Oh, for sure.
Like it's been, and like, I took on a lot of listings this year. Like I had so many listings in the spring, and obviously the market freaking tanked in the spring. So I was holding all this inventory with a bunch of sellers that were expecting better prices. And, it just seems like everybody wants to just kind of kick and scream all the way down right now. So it's been an emotional year. You know what I mean? Like just that people are in trouble and like kind of navigating those problems with everybody. But it's been decent, like overall volume is down, but I saw a lot of pre-sales and the commissions are typically higher on that. So like money made has been roughly what it always is for me. So, but it's been a pretty rough year.
Yeah.
And on that note, do you guys ever fire clients?
Ooh, that's a good question. I tried to qualify them from the start, and for instance, like not take on a listing that is just that I don't believe is going to be saleable, especially if their like prices are out of whack. But I don't know. I don't know if I actually have fired anyone. I know I've definitely said no to people from the start. Sometimes, honestly, I take people on or I'll work with them, and I've been with them for such a long period of time. I was actually having this conversation today that I just feel like it's tough to cut it off. Mm-hmm. And I look back and there's a few times I definitely should have. But yeah, honestly, I'm not the best at it. I try to do all the qualification up front. It's not always the best, but I feel like I do a pretty good job most of the time.
It's like your first girlfriend, you just can't give her up. Been with her for so long. We got to see this through the head. The fairy tale's coming up, man. We're going to get married here soon. Like, we can't just break up again,
Yeah. What about you, man?
Yeah, there's been times I've had for sure. My kind of golden rule with that is like, I know the level of service and how hard we're going to work. I just expect to be respected back. And if people just won't listen and then they're just downright even like degrading our industry. Like I do believe, yeah, we get paid a lot of money and we're helping people buy their biggest investment in their entire life. And there has to be a value exchange there. But sometimes people's expectations are just not in the realm of what I can provide or what I'm willing to really maybe endure and provide and do all these extra things. So I'd say it's very specific in seeing where they're, but as long as there's good respect back and forth and they're not necessarily like doing things that just to be a shitty person, you know what I mean? No, definitely will stick it through. I obviously know it can be frustrating. It can take a really long time to help people find exactly what they need or help them sell. So that would just depend. And yeah, same thing too. If there's people that just think their home is worth way more than what it actually is, having that hard, candid conversation with people is very difficult, and something I'm probably not the best at doing it. But yeah, we've turned down stuff where we just don't think it's going to sell, and definitely have let a few buyers go just saying, hey, like this isn't a right fit. And yeah, you're not meant to work with everyone.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, it's like second I get that gut feeling that like this isn't going to end well, and like I still do it where I kind of hold on too long sometimes, but like I'm kind of a people pleaser, believe it or not. Like I don't want to have to like
conflict.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I hate it, man. Like I don't want to do that. I try to stay away from it. But I've had a couple times now, probably like 3 or 4 times where I've had to fire somebody. But I'd say like 3 out of 4 of those times the client was like, don't do this type of thing, right? And then actually 2 of those deals, I ended up selling their property after like basically trying to fire them, right? Because then they're a lot more receptive to like what you have to say after that. So it's been interesting. I hate doing it, but yeah, I mean, sometimes I think you have to, right? Do you guys think that everyone should be in real estate?
No.
100% not.
There's a clear kind of, I don't want to say misrepresentation, but people watching shows, for instance, Selling Sunset, and like,
dude, I hate it, bro.
They just have this completely wrong view.
Just
of
a
what
bunch
it's
of fives
like.
walking around.
Man, my girl watches this show every night, and it's like it's so hard for me to just sit there and not chirp the show the entire time. So like the way they go through the negotiating process, it's like, dude, this doesn't happen, man. You guys aren't verbally agreeing on a $16 million house. It's just so ridiculous. But anyways, cut you off. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for my Lambo.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the thing that most people to some extent get wrong is they think, I'm going to create my own schedule, make as much money as I want. And, I'm getting away from the 9 to 5. It's like, yeah, get into the 24/7. Because obviously you can, set some sort of boundaries, and that's good. And to have team members or other people who can help you with that, and be able to take time off, which is super important. And then even just like on a daily basis, right? Like I try and set my expectations with clients up front about maybe it's after 9 or whatever that may be, that, hey, send me a message anytime, but like my phone's going off now unless it's an urgent situation. But at the start, like you kind of just got to do whatever it takes, work crazy hours. Sometimes you got to drop stuff for people. And I think as you were talking about like that mutual level of respect, as long as, you're both in it with good intentions and they're there for the right reasons and actually being reasonable, that I'm more willing to do that for people. But yeah, I don't think it's for everyone if you can't handle a high level of stress, and like having a very, very kind of all over the place schedule, to be honest with you, then it might not be the best fit for you.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think it's going to be super easy. And it would have to be one of the hardest occupations out there in terms of just being able to scale it up, get it to where you're actually making decent money and your margins are good and profitable. And they don't really realize how much business goes into it. Yeah, like you could be, some of those realtors are just like great people who have so many community connections that just keep getting a whole bunch of repeat and referrals. And those are like a dime a dozen. Like those, they barely exist. For a lot of us, you're going to be having to hustle, go out there and hunting, you know what I mean? And a lot of people don't realize how much rejection you got to go through. Like I even know when I first started and I was making my calls and like people would tell me off, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like super sad. I
Yeah.
didn't want to keep going, like deflated. But then like you got to find ways to overcome that and handle that rejection. It's literally a constant roller coaster ride. Like you can go from all of a sudden you put together a huge deal, but in that same day you lose one, and then vice versa. Or just things are going on, and you really have to be like a juggler. You got so many different things that you're juggling at once, and just almost accept that. Where I feel a lot of people, especially if they come in from, you know what I mean, a lot of structure, and then being your own boss. Like so many people think, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to get to do whatever I want and set my own schedule. And that can be your total demise, where then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you haven't even worked for a couple months and you're like, oh, why aren't things going well for me? It's like, well, you literally have just been chilling for an extended period of time. And I would say another thing that really probably would wear is just the financial rewards are big, but that's going to get old really fast. So if you don't have any sort of resilience or emotional intelligence or like a purpose in doing it, it's going to get old really fast. Hence why it has such a high failure rate that people just literally give up, because it is very, very difficult and you have to handle so many different things.
Yeah, I was going to say also, they're selling Sunset, and then there's also Connor, who has set this expectation that you can make 3 TikTok videos and sell 7 pre-sales. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, you can definitely have that kind of success. But statistically, it's going to be the few and far between, and you just have to be able to put in the work and understand that, you know, you will have the success if you do put in the work over a period of time, but there's only one Connor Kelly.
That's right. That's right.
I do think it can be like a great lifestyle for a lot of people too. Like I think it's a crazy good opportunity for like that super mom, you know what I mean? The mom that she's got a lot of kids on the go. She can't necessarily work a 40-hour week admin job. Well, she can go show up at like her kids' sports games, get some clients that way, still be a really great to raising her kids, being able to provide all that stuff for them, but make a better income than potentially just working an admin job that they probably would end up hating. So it does have a lot of opportunities for people who not necessarily are shooting for the stars, wanting to sell all this property and be the top agent in their market. So it can provide some very, very good opportunities for some of those people that in sales, it's literally probably the biggest opportunity for people if they can handle all that stuff that goes into it and endure it.
Yeah. Well, I think like on paper, being a realtor isn't difficult, right? Like opening doors, scheduling showings.
I thought all we do is open doors.
All we do is open doors, schedule showings, look good, right?
Golf,
definitely. White BMW leased. But like all that stuff like truly isn't difficult, right? The difficult part of the job is navigating other people's expectations and all of the emotional tolerance you have to have that comes with that. And people don't look at that. People just look at like, oh, you write contracts and open doors. Yes, that is the service part of my job. But there's all of the people in between all of those things and navigating all their expectations that makes me doing that difficult, right?
What's the saying? Simple, not easy.
Simple, not easy. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, if you don't like, you know, having to tell people stuff they don't want to hear, then this job is probably not going to go very well for you, because that's pretty much all I do for a living right now.
I think I heard someone say that too. It was whoever can have highest number of difficult conversations is usually the person who's making the most money.
Yeah.
That's what it is a lot of the time.
Well, that's to say, like, say you finally get your buddy where you get an accepted offer for him and you're going through the things and it's going great. The next thing you know, it's like the inspection comes up. All the appliances are pooched. This needs to be done. And the seller doesn't want to sell. It doesn't want to fix any of it. Now you're working with your buddy and like that phone call is so hard and it's difficult. Now you got to try to help navigate them through this process to make sure that they're making a good financial decision. Like, I don't know how many people I'll end up meeting that just, it is the single biggest thing that can produce wealth for people in their lives. And we're there to help them make the best decision possible for what they're trying to achieve. And I think we actually create more wealth for people than like financial planners or financial advisors in terms of their retirement, because us educating them properly is what's going to set them up to maintain their lifestyle in the future. And so we really have to take that on our sleeve with great, great pride and make sure that we're doing that for people. And not everyone does, you know what I mean? But all those intangibles and navigating along that way is very hard and stressful with the up and downs.
100%. What about social media? Think anybody be successful on social media?
I think if you got abs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's another piece of the puzzle that like a lot of people think is a lot easier than it looks, and it's very easy to portray yourself as being successful or doing all these sales, and there's all these people that are posting all these listings and other things, and from the outside, if you don't necessarily understand what they're doing or they're not transparent about it, it's like how is this person doing so many deals, getting so many listings? Like they're just kind of maybe leveraging their network or showing off other people's listings, and to some extent, like there's some smoke and mirrors with some people, and I mean, if it works for them, great. But when you actually have these conversations, it's always interesting to see who's actually producing and who's kind of just
making it look like it.
Yeah, exactly, right? But I mean, again, anybody can have success there. It's just trying to differentiate yourself right now, for sure. Obviously, you've done a really good job with that, and more, there's just like more realtors that are getting onto social media where a couple of years ago there weren't, and there's all these talking head videos and everyone kind of just looks the same. So how are you standing out from other people? Are like, what sort of value are you bringing? What sort of niche do you specialize in that not everyone else is talking about? So I think, my opinion on it is pick one platform, really learn it. Don't try and like be on everything at the same time. You still can be, but like really focus on one at a time, really learn the ins and outs of it. And then you can kind of move on after that. That's kind of how I started my career. Picked one, did it for a year, added another, slowly over time. Some people, if you're like Connor, you can take the fast track and just do everything. But I think
just scream.
Yeah. For the average person, and maybe you're not as good on camera, right? It takes a while. I still, I'm a lot more confident, a lot better than I was, but it's still a long ways to go. Some people are great at the start. Some people take more time, but it's just committing to it. You're not going to get deals after like 2 or 3 videos. You got to put in 3, 6, 12 months, and that's when a lot of people will be reaching out that, hey, you don't even see them liking your stuff. I call it like the silent follower. Like, hey, I've been looking at your stuff for a year now. It's like, I didn't even know you followed me. And it's someone from high school that, you haven't had a conversation with for years, but if you don't get caught up in the vanity metrics, the likes, the shares, that sort of stuff, there is correlation there with better videos. But at the end of the day, like, we're not in it for those metrics. We're in it for generating conversations and actually getting deals done. But what is your experience with it?
I think it's an amazing vehicle to open doors for avenues. Like in today's world, pretty much anyone can start a business doing anything. You could be a candle salesman. You know what I mean? If you have you can tell a compelling story or message on social media, you could have a beautiful business that could provide whatever you're potentially wanting to. You just have to learn how to tap into that. And I don't think people really understand how much skill really goes into it. Say, like, take Connor's channel, for instance. He is entertaining. People remember him. People think it's awesome. It's funny. Where, like, say for me, when I was doing all my talking head videos, there's like, that's just another guy that doesn't have thinks he knows what he's talking about, has no education, is trying to tell me what to do. You know what I mean? And hence probably why, like, I didn't really get any deals ever from Instagram or any of that stuff, because my skills weren't providing them. What I was doing really wasn't attracting them in. I was just being like everyone else. And so differentiating yourself and getting people to actually recognize you and want to reach out to you is a massive skill. And it can come in many different forms. It can be from your video production, having really good shot videos, or where you're very good at speaking and you master your tonality, or you learn different metrics on there on how to draw people in, or you can just be freaking entertaining, where you learn Punjabi, you do some couple push-ups, you can dance, you know what I mean, and then people find it, but it draws people in, right? And it takes some skills over to master that too, or like a really good female presence where they have a great aesthetic, where other females are just like, say all those female influencers that were on The Bachelor, for Christ's sake, that soak my girlfriend on Abercrombie every week. For, you know what I mean? Because they got a great aesthetic. They now have kids, and that's what they all inspire to, but they're showcasing that life. They just think, oh, because they're on The Bachelor, that's why everyone's there. But no, like, she's showing how she's got her kids. She's showing how she's dressing, how she's fitting up. She's connecting to her audience in a totally different way that's appealing to what they want. It's not just because she was on The Bachelor, she got a bunch of followers. Like, you're still watching her stuff all the time. You're still looking for that Abercrombie promo code when she drops something.
100%.
So there's a lot of different skills that go into it. And I think where my content really sucks is because I don't have any of the apps on my personal phone, I never showcased anything behind the scenes, what I'm actually like. I was just the talking head, you know what I mean, that's blabbering
There's
on.
no personal experience.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, they're just like...
You know what's funny, though, dude? You were one of the first people I saw on TikTok, like 3 years ago. I remember you had that video. It's like the 5 best side hustles in like 2021 or something.
Yeah,
like
you want to talk about failed businesses? Fuck.
That one went crazy, though. I remember.
Yeah, we were trying to start this community for entrepreneurs on how to maintain a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it didn't work, and we made no money, but it was really fun chopping it up with some of my buddies, and we learned a lot. And then actually from doing some of that stuff, like one of my buddies was able to start a ghostwriting agency where he was able to retire. Like, he quit his job, now he's making great income. Wow. But from all the skills of us failing at that, trying to produce TikTok, led him down to something that he was really good, which was he was a great copywriter, and that led him to just writing good copy from us trying to start that. He now is doing whatever he wants. He lives in Costa Rica. He travels the world. He's like the digital nomad guy that really, from us trying to create that, you know what I mean?
It
now
led
has
to
a beautiful
something else.
business. Yeah. So like, it didn't work out for everyone else that was a part of a circle. It was amazing to see that someone else, just from us giving a shot of trying to create something together, led that way. It was actually super funny. It started out as being a real estate investing course.
Oh, yeah.
So the guys that we were doing it with were all real estate investors in different realms. Like, we all have our stories about how we've done really well in real estate investing. So we're like, oh, let's do a real estate investing course. Then we're going down it. And we're like, I don't know. This is kind of lame. Like, I don't even really give a shit that much. You know what I mean? But we're like, we're entrepreneurs, so let's help some other entrepreneurs. And it's like, actually, I'm not even really that good at that either. So I don't know if people are going to listen to me to be teached, but we were trying to figure it out. And then from going through that whole process, I think now we've been able to evolve and make everything better and better and better and iterate on it. And that led me to be not so much on social media now, because I'm not willing to do all those extra things that it takes to become good at it and sharpen those skills and do that stuff there.
So let me ask you this then. If you're not charismatic, entertaining, controversial, or like extremely good looking, how do you see success on social media?
Go on my YouTube channel.
But for real though, what would you do?
I mean, I think I have some of those qualities, but I am just very much like informational, very information heavy, like numbers oriented. And that's the kind of clients that I've attracted there. I try to add in some other stuff and people appreciate that, but it's definitely a lot harder to some extent to, get that to show off or showcase that on camera. And, I probably attract a lot of the clients that most people don't want to work with, like the engineers and the people that are so like focused on
the numbers and
exactly right. But I work really well with them, and so that's all that really matters, right? Like there's a client avatar for everybody out there.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the way to go. I mean, I'd probably say the same thing. Like, people on YouTube don't care as long as you're giving the information, right? So let's address the elephant in the room, bro. EXP to real.
Jeez, I may need to rip us in here before.
Why, dude? Why'd you do it?
Yeah, no, it came down to a few things, but one of the main things was just being able to work exclusively with you guys, be a part of what you guys are building. Alex helped me a lot. We used to meet a lot of times on our YouTube channel, always meshed really well with him. And then we were connecting, and we wanted to be a part of just a really good crew that was kind of in the thick of things. You know what I mean? We're all trying to create this together. We're really trying to grow. We help each other. We're growing that. Not saying that the people at EXP weren't providing me that too. They were phenomenal. All the people, I can even shout them out, like Phil Hahn, Randy Dick, 𝐎𝐄𝐒, even all our brokers. They were amazing. They were great people. They really helped. They really helped my business, and they were always there for me. But just wanted to be a part of it with some, I would say, people more maybe my own age, people more kind of going through the same stage of life. You know what I mean? The other big thing too was me and my business partner were able to reset each other, get into the organization, was something that originally piqued our interest into making the transition. But then everything, the knockdown effects, was what really converted us. So like the better tech, the better like rev share setup in terms of that. I think just an easier conversation on potentially getting people to want to be a part of everything that we're doing. And then the other big part of it was, which would probably be the second biggest thing, is it is new. It's exciting. We're on the ground up. We get to be the forerunners of reaping all the rewards, like the people that I was a part of who are few years earlier than me. We saw that opportunity, right? And I think you're mentioning this too. When you see there's a force of nature where stuff is going in certain directions, you want to be a part of that force, especially in business, where we just felt like we were kind of fighting an uphill battle with EXP on trying to do some of the other stuff that we were wanting to get into. Where that conversation's a lot easier. A lot of people are more receptive to it.
In terms of like agent attraction.
Yeah. And like going through that, and it was just a strategic play on a few different realms, but those would be the major points. But just connecting with guys similar age, similar interests, similar stage of their business was the most important thing. We're all kind of going through it together. We're all having the same problems, and we're all wanting to build this together.
Yeah, 100%. No, that was kind of one of the deciding factors for me too, because I was looking at EXP for a while, and I talked to everybody there, and you know, if there was no Real, I'd be at EXP right now. But I think like I've built the large majority of my business off of catching momentum. And like if it's there, why not ride it? Like why fight an uphill battle? Why not just fight a downhill battle, right? So like even in all my content, if something's hot, I'm going to hop on it, right? Might as well catch that wave while it's there, right? So it's like the Punjabi's working, keep riding it. You know what I mean? So, you know, I've pretty much built my whole business like that. When then I saw Real and I saw what they were doing and how fast they're growing, I was like, this is a no-brainer. Like I've already been doing this, right? Let's just go do it over here now, right?
I was, and then like very interested in some of their other business models that they have with the Real wallet, with the Real mortgage, the line of credit, all that stuff coming down the pipe. That's something that's really going to help agents where like we struggle to get financing. Yeah, we're maybe making a really good income, but Jerry down the street that literally has just I'm making 4 times more than him, can get better mortgages than me, get better lending, get better credit and all that stuff. So some of those advancements and being on the forefront of that was really, really interesting to us and led to maybe potentially bigger opportunities. I would love in the future where, okay, shit, we have 40 deals right now pending that we've pre-sold. I would love to be able to access that commission early on somehow so I could set myself up better or take advantage of an opportunity. So some of that stuff just business-wise I think is really going to accelerate what I can do personally wealth-wise. It made sense for our team too as well that people could go into the 6K cap and do all that stuff. EXP has a similar structure too that you can opt into, but those reasons really, really lit the fire on wanting to make the move.
Dude, do you know when they're rolling out that Real wallet?
Towards the end of this year, I think it's being released in the U.S. Don't quote me on this. And then we'll be at some point afterwards. I don't know if it's coming out at the same time. I just know there's a lot more rules and regulations in Canada. But when I was at the conference in Banff, just kind of add on to it, the really interesting part is, yes, of course, we're a smaller amount of agents in comparison to the States. They're a way bigger market. So we make up 10% of the agents in all of Real in Canada, but 20% of the transactions, which was really cool to see is that like we have producing agents, like a lot of high producing agents here.
We make up 10% of the agents, but 20% of the transactions in Canada?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that was like a really cool stat that Tamir was sharing with us.
If you're a top producer, like with all the stock options, with everything, especially if you run a team, you literally would be insane not to look at the model. Like, I don't know how many agents that would potentially, if they opt in for some of those stock programs, hitting some of those benefits, like there's thousands upon thousands of dollars that they could be missing out on. You know what I mean? And obviously if you have a really tight relationship with all those people and you want to honor that, but I think in any business, you do ultimately have to be truthful. Like, is there a better model out there? And for us, when we looked at it, it's like, okay, shit, I'm going to be able to potentially put more money into my pocket, not to pay as much, and then have more opportunity. Like, what more can you really ask for? Right? Like I think you would be idiotic not to at least consider it, especially if you're a top producer with all the benefits that you could reap from it.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's like everyone who goes to one of these cloud brokerages, whether it's Real, EXP, or whatever, everyone says the same thing. They're like, yeah, we didn't look at it for years. We ignored it. We didn't want to look at it. We didn't. And then the second we looked at it, we were like, oh, this makes sense. Like every single person says the same
Dude, I
thing.
was the polar opposite. I interviewed all the brokerages, and EXP was the first one I went to. I like being from a business wise. I think what agents really have to understand is you can't really sell your businesses. I know people potentially can, where they sell their businesses for a bit of money. They might have a team. They might have some sort of thing that they're able to liquidate, but we aren't necessarily building equity unless you take that upon yourself. So why not let the company that you work for help you build that equity into something that's potentially going to benefit your family in the future? It just, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have pension plans. We don't have all that stuff. But say if I can build up a decent nest egg with rev share and some of those other options, and say I kick the bucket, I get the, you know what I mean, the bird flu and I die. You know what I mean? At least my fiance is going to potentially be able to reap some of that rewards of me working 80, 90 hours a week that can still fulfill and provide for our family.
100%, man. 100%. So, like, dude, are they rolling out, like, with this Real Wallet thing, do you get, like, it's essentially going to be a bank account, right?
Yes.
And they're giving you credit card and debit card?
Yes. And so you'll be able to access essentially, the commissions that you already have. And they haven't released specifics or anything, but you'll be able to essentially, it'll be like a bank, right? It'll be your own bank account. They will be able to, I don't know how exactly it's going to work, but it's whether it's points or whether it's dollars towards your expenses, as well as earning interest at higher levels than the bank. And so I think the beauty of it, that when I really started to understand how, like, the future of Real is, number one, that they have all their own, like, proprietary technology. They have Real Title, Real Mortgage in the States right now. And they pretty much own everything within the company, which is why we're starting to have institutional investors actually invest in the company that, you know, aren't just realtors. Like, people are seeing it from the outside that see the potential in the future. And so when the wallet comes out and they essentially are going to become a bank, that's when I think, you know, if there's at any point in time where the stock's already performing extremely well, but if there's any point in time that it's going to go like vertical, like, that's going to be the time, because they're building the whole thing based off of like small margins. That's how they're able to give that back so much to the agents, and they're continually being progressive and proactive and providing more and more over time. And once they kind of hit that point, I mean, we all know how successful like any bank is. So to build a model based off that, like, I almost look at it as the Facebook of real estate, because nobody else, again, from my understanding, is anywhere close to having this sort of technology and systems, or however
profit centers.
Exactly, right? And so how did all these other major things like Facebook build their business? It was to bring people in, like, for free, not for free essentially, but for the most part. To build
a network first.
Build the network first, exactly. And then profit later, right? It's like, how long can we hold off before doing this? So I'm just really excited about where that leads to in the future. And, like, even just looking at the numbers from my stock investments from when I got in, and even just continually using that program and seeing the benefits from that. Even somebody who has no interest in bringing other people to the company, like, you at least need to look at those numbers, because they can be realistically, like, absolutely life-changing.
Yeah. I think that was the biggest thing for me too, because I looked at the EXP model and I was like, you know, I just don't know what's going to happen with that in 3 or 4 years if the stock price isn't growing. Like, I don't know what the result of that's going to be, and I didn't want to take a risk on that. But when I heard about the Real Wallet thing, I was like, wait a minute. That's basically what Starbucks did, right? Starbucks did the same thing. Where like you buy a gift card, or you could load your Starbucks card with like $200, right? And they give you points. Same thing as having your money in a bank and they pay you interest. But then Starbucks would take that money and they'd invest it. And that's the more profitable side of the business, right? So when I saw that, I was like, okay, I see what these guys are doing. That makes sense, right? So yeah, I think you're right. I think the stock should perform pretty well the next couple of years, just because I think they're smart by going the fintech route or the banking route or whatever you want to call it, right? But anyways, I'm about to piss my pants, so we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Subscribe to the viral letter using the link below. Peace.